A major incident has erupted in the South China Sea. A Chinese ship collided with a Philippine vessel near the Second Thomas Shoal, a disputed reef both countries claim. The Philippines maintains a small marine outpost there, living aboard the grounded BRP Sierra Madre. The crash happened during a routine resupply mission for these Marines. This was no mere accident. It marks a dangerous escalation in a long-standing territorial dispute. The Second Thomas Shoal lies within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, but China claims almost the entire South China Sea. Chinese ships have long tried to block Philippine missions, viewing their presence as illegal. Now, tense standoffs are turning into physical confrontations, raising the risk of a wider conflict. The South China Sea is crowded with Coast Guard and fishing vessels from several nations, each asserting their claims. For the Philippines, resupplying the outpost is about sovereignty. For China, it's about enforcing its territorial demands. This collision has drawn global attention to the region's fragile security. A single misstep could spiral into a crisis with global consequences. The South China Sea is a vital artery for world trade, making its stability crucial for many nations. The incident highlights the constant pressure the Philippines faces from its larger neighbor. It also forces allies like the United States to consider their response to China's increasingly bold actions. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. The situation is more volatile than ever. After the crash, China and the Philippines offered sharply different accounts. China claims the Philippine boat ignored warnings and rammed their Coast Guard ship, painting Manila as the aggressor. The Philippines rejects this, insisting their mission was legal and routine in their own waters. Manila accuses the Chinese ship of dangerous maneuvers and intentional ramming. The Philippines released video footage they say proves their case, showing the Chinese vessel cutting across their path. Both sides are now locked in a public relations battle, each trying to convince the world they are the victim. China uses state media to defend its actions. The Philippines turns to social media and international outlets to highlight what they call Chinese bullying. This war of words deepens mistrust and makes peaceful resolution harder. Without independent investigation, the truth remains elusive, one country's word against another's. However, China's history of aggressive tactics in the South China Sea shapes global skepticism. There are many documented cases of Chinese ships harassing vessels from the Philippines and other Southeast Asian nations. The pattern of behavior matters as much as the facts of this single incident. The disagreement over basic facts shows just how broken relations have become. The world is left to judge based on history and evidence. The standoff continues with no easy answers. The confrontation escalated beyond a collision. Chinese ships used powerful water cannons against Philippine vessels. China defends this as a non-lethal enforcement measure, claiming restraint. But the Philippines and many observers see it as dangerous aggression. These high-pressure water cannons can shatter glass, damage equipment, and injure crew. The latest incident left several Philippine sailors wounded, with one reportedly losing a thumb. The use of water cannons marks a shift from blocking maneuvers to direct physical assault. It's no longer just about damaged ships, now people are getting hurt. The injuries give the Philippines' diplomatic protests a powerful human element. Manila points to the harm done to its sailors as evidence of China's escalating tactics. This makes it harder for China to dismiss the incident as minor. The stakes have risen. These are real, dangerous confrontations, not just political theater. The risk of further escalation is growing. Each new incident increases the pressure to de-escalate before someone is killed. The world is watching closely, hoping for restraint. The use of force at sea is a dangerous precedent. The conflict is now personal, not just political. The need for a peaceful solution is urgent. The next clash could be even more serious. The collision and injuries sparked a diplomatic firestorm. The Philippines condemned China's actions and filed a formal protest, signaling it won't stay silent. The U.S. quickly responded, condemning China's aggression and reaffirming its defense commitments under the Mutual Defense Treaty. This treaty means an attack on Philippine forces could trigger U.S. involvement. Other countries, Japan, Australia, Canada, the UK, also voiced support for the Philippines and called for de-escalation. This international backing puts pressure on China and shows Manila is not alone. The chorus of condemnation highlights China's growing isolation on the world stage. China, meanwhile, defended its Coast Guard and accused the U.S. of interference. Beijing claims Washington is encouraging Manila to be provocative. The diplomatic back and forth reveals deep divisions over the South China Sea. The Philippines and its allies demand respect for international law. China insists on its historical claims. The standoff is now a global issue, not just a regional one. The stakes are higher than ever. Every statement and protest adds to the tension. The world waits to see who will blink first. The risk of miscalculation grows with every exchange. Beijing recently announced a new plan for the disputed Scarborough Shoal, declaring it a national nature reserve. On the surface, it sounds like environmental protection. But critics, especially in the Philippines, see it as a strategic move to tighten China's control. By labeling it a reserve, China can restrict access, ban fishing, and justify chasing away Philippine boats. This is classic gray zone activity, aggressive but just short of war. China uses Coast Guard, maritime militia, and now environmental rules to assert control. The Philippines condemned the plan as a violation of sovereignty. The timing, amid high tensions, only deepens mistrust. Critics argue true conservation would require cooperation, not unilateral action. Instead, China is creating new facts on the water. The move is seen as a power play disguised as conservation. The dispute over the shoal is far from over. To understand today's tensions, we must revisit the 2016 Hague Tribunal ruling. The Philippines challenged China's sweeping claims in the South China Sea. The court ruled overwhelmingly in Manila's favor, rejecting China's 9-dash line as having no legal basis. Many features China claims are just rocks or reefs, not islands with their own waters. The ruling affirmed that areas like Second Thomas Shoal are within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The decision was legally binding under international law. The Philippines and many Western nations hailed it as a victory for the rule of law. China, however, rejected the ruling outright, refused to participate, and declared it void. Since then, Beijing has increased its military presence and continued to harass other nations' ships. China's refusal to accept the ruling is at the heart of today's conflict. The legal path for peaceful resolution exists, but China ignores it. The Philippines continues to face aggression in its own waters. The world is left with a standoff between law and power. The 2016 ruling remains a flashpoint. The Philippines is not facing China alone. It's strengthening alliances, especially with the US. The US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty is a powerful security guarantee. The US has made clear that attacks on Philippine vessels in the South China Sea could trigger the treaty. This alliance is backed by action, not just words. The Philippines, US, Japan, and Australia now hold larger joint military exercises, practicing everything from patrols to combat scenarios. These drills send a strong message of deterrence to China. The annual Balikatan exercises have grown in scale, now including live-fire drills near disputed waters. Japan and Australia are also providing patrol vessels and conducting joint patrols. This network of alliances counters China's growing power. China sees these drills as a threat and accuses the US of militarizing the region. The cycle of action and reaction keeps tensions high. The region is on edge, with every move watched closely. The risk of miscalculation is ever present. The South China Sea dispute isn't just regional, it's global. 1/3 of all maritime trade passes through these waters, making stability vital for the world economy. Any conflict here could disrupt supply chains and raise prices worldwide. The US and China are locked in a struggle for influence, with freedom of navigation at stake. The 2016 tribunal ruling offered a legal solution, but China ignores it. If powerful nations disregard international law, the global order is at risk. Countries worldwide are invested in the outcome. The latest clash is a warning. Escalation is possible, and the consequences could be severe. The future of global trade and peace hangs in the balance. The US stands firmly with the Philippines, bound by a mutual defense treaty. Washington has repeatedly affirmed its commitment, including to Philippine vessels facing Chinese pressure. For the US, China's actions threaten Indo-Pacific peace and the principle of freedom of navigation. Supporting the Philippines is about upholding international rules, not just defending an ally. The US leads diplomatic condemnation, builds coalitions, and increases its military presence. American warships regularly challenge China's claims with freedom of navigation operations. Security cooperation with the Philippines is deepening through joint patrols and military aid. But this firm stance carries risks. A clash could draw the US into direct conflict with China. The US aims to deter aggression without provoking war. It's a delicate balancing act in a volatile region. The stakes could not be higher.